This is Gemara in Kesubos, Daf Pei Dalid. Apologies for the lateness of today's shir. We were catching up post Yontif and Mirz Hashem going forward. We're going to try our best to once again have this shir up before Yontif so as to avoid this issue. But we pick it up on the first wide line of the bottom of Pei Gimel Amid Beis, which we quote the Mishnah that says, Rav Shimon Gamliel Laimer. Says Rav Shimon Gamliel, quoting the din, that even if the husband made a tanai that may while you are alive and achar moisai and after your death, and she dies before he inherits her, then it's the same din. Why? Because he's making a stipulation, he's making a tanai that is not like that which the Torah requires. And any tanai, amasna, kol shamasna amashikos b'Torah, if you make a tanai against that which the Torah says, the tanai is batul. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav, halacha kirashbag. So we begin today with the statement of Rav that this is the psak halacha. The psak halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that if one tries to make a tanai keneged amashikos b'Torah, kol amasna amashikos b'Torah, tanai batul. And seemingly Rav is teaching us that is how we paskin, that you're not able to stipulate against that which the Torah says. But comments the Gemara, v'lo yimi taimei. Rav is pasking like Rav Shimon Gamliel. Rav is pasking that what? Kol hamasna mashikos b'Torah tanai batul. That if someone tries to make a tanai against the Torah, it does not work. But says the Gemara, v'lo yimi taimei. But Rav does not paskin like Rav Shimon Gamliel for Rav Shimon Gamliel's reasoning. He's paskin like Rav Shimon Gamliel, but not for his reasoning. Now that might have sounded a bit elementary, but it's very important as the Gemara now is going to delve into what exactly was the psak of Rav and what was the reasoning. Asks the Gemara 4 lines to the bottom of Pei Gimel Beis, Ma'ay halacha ki Rav Shimon Gamliel v'lo mitaimei. What exactly do you mean? If you're going like Rav Shimon Gamliel, who said in the Mishnah that you made a tanai against that which the Torah said, and what were the ramifications of such a tanai? That even if she dies, you should not inherit her because you try to give it away. But since the tanai is no good, therefore if she dies, you will yes inherit her. But he does not hold of the reasoning of Rav Shimon Gamliel. Why does he not hold of the reasoning? Because Rashbag is teaching us, like we just said 10 times, if you make a stipulation against that which the Torah says, it does not work. So Rav is arguing on that reasoning. V'Rav savar tanai kai. And Rav holds generally, you make a tanai against that which the Torah says, the tanai does work. But in this case, because savar Yerusha zabal d'Rabbanan, Rav holds that the Yerusha of a husband is a din d'Rabbanan. That even though on a Daraisa level, Rav disagrees with Rav Shimon Gamliel, and Rav holds you're able to make a tanai against that which the Torah says. And if you make a tanai against that which the Torah says, the tanai stands. But in this case, since the din of a husband inheriting, it's a din d'Rabbanan, the Chachamim moisu chizik, and therefore, specifically in this case, the tanai does not work, and that would be the reason of Imesha Yerushana. Asks the Gemara, as we turn over to Pei Daled and Aleph, is that really accurate, that what you just said? V'sover Rav tanai kayom. Does Rav really hold that kol hamasna mashikasa b'Torah, the tanai is kayom when it's a din d'Oraisa? Someone says to their friend, I'm making a condition, I'm making a stipulation that there is no oina. What is oina? Oina is literally fraud. Oina is when you are selling something at a higher than allowed value, as Rashi says, someone sells an item to his friend. And there are halachos. You're not allowed to rip someone off by more than a six, a shtos. So the question is, someone wants to sell his friend, his, let's say his computer, his $500 computer. He wants to sell it to him for $10,000. A lot more than the allowed markup on an item. So he says to his friend, I'm selling you this item on condition that you can never say that I overcharged you. Rav says, Rav says such a condition does not work. Why does it not work? Because you're being masna mashakasa v'tayra. Says in the Torah, says Hashem, you can't overcharge someone, and you're thinking you could overcharge someone. So says Rav, it doesn't work. Ushmol Amar, Shmuel disagrees. Ein Eloi Eilav Eina. Shmuel disagrees, and Shmuel says that Tanai is Kayom. You can make such a Tanai. But what do we see? We see that according to Rav, even on a Din D'Oraisa, Rav says that Tanai is Batal. So it can't be that is which Rav said that he paskin is that he disagrees with Shmuel's reasoning of to call a Masna Mashikos B'Teira Tanai Batal, because he clearly agrees on Din D'Oraisa. So rather, says the Gemara, a new attempt, 4 lines down, Pei Dalet Amud Aleph. Rav agrees with Reshbag. Rav agrees that if someone makes a Tanai against that which the Torah says, the Tanai does not stand. But he's not holding of the reasoning of Rav Shimon Gamliel. What's the reasoning? Te'ilu Rashbag Savar Rav Shimon Gamliel holds Mesa Yirashena. What was the din in the Mishnah? Said Rav Shimon Gamliel in the Mishnah that if she dies, the husband inherits her. Why? Because the Tanai that he made is batal. But Rav Savar Mesa Lo Yirashena. Rav says he would not inherit her. Why? Because of a din derabanan, and therefore on the din derabanan that he inherits his wife, that will stand. Even though normally on a din deraisa he agrees with the Shimon Gamliel that Tanai batal, but on a din derabanan it would work. But asks the Gemara, it also doesn't work. Why? Because in this case he's arguing with the Shimon Gamliel. Again, we're looking for a case that Rav is going to agree with Rav Shimon Gamliel, but not for his reasoning. And all we just found was a case in which he held Rav Shimon Gamliel's reasoning of Masna Mashikos of Torah Tanai Batal, but like Yochasa, he argued on the halacha. Ela attempt number 3 says the Gemara, Halach Shbag Damar Mesi Rashena. He paskins like Rav Shimon Gamliel that if the wife dies, he inherits her. Because Rav Shimon Gamliel holds the reason why you inherit your wife in such a scenario is why, says Rav Shimon Gamliel, because the Tanai is batal. Tanai kayom. But let's say it would have been a din d'Rabbanan, and Rav Shimon Gamliel would have held it is a good Tanai. But Rav Savar afilu b'Drabanan Tanai batal. Rav holds that even on a din d'Rabbanan, the Tanai is going to be batal. Says the Gemara, again, says the Gemara, this doesn't work either. Because according to this, he's agreeing with Rav Shimon Gamliel's din, and he's agreeing with his tam for Rav Moisifu. And he's just adding on to that which Rav Shimon Gamliel said. He's adding on a new dimension. So that also can't be the statement. Ella, the 4th and final attempt to understand the statement of Rav that we began today. He agrees that if the wife dies, he inherits her. Why did Rav Shimon Gamliel? Here it is. Rashbag holds the fact that a husband inherits his wife, that is a din d'oraisa. And because that's a din d'oraisa, and that's the reason why that when she dies, Rav Shimon Gamliel holds that the husband inherits her. However, Rav holds that the din that a husband inherits his wife is only din d'Rabbanan. But so comes out the same outcome that in Mesa, if the wife dies, Yirashena, but for a different reason. According to Shimon Gamliel, it's a din d'oraisa due to the fact Tanai batal, and according to Rav, it's for a different reason. It's a din d'Rabbanan that Chachamim asu chizik l'devrayim kishel Torah. Says the Gemara, beautiful. You explain the statement of Rav. But 1 second, 20 lines down, the first word of the line is Kishal Taira. V'Rav Savar Yirush Zabal D'Rabbanan. Does Rav really hold that in? It fits what you just said. But wait, doesn't work. Does Rav really hold the fact that a husband inherits his wife is only a din d'Rabbanan v'tanan? We learned in a Mishnah. It says, Rav Yochanan ben Broika, if one inherits his wife, what happens at Yovel? The halacha is all lands in Eretz Yisrael that were either sold or given away as a gift during the previous 49 years go back to original owners as ancestral fields that are owned by a family always go back to their original owners. So it says Rav Yochanan ben Broika, someone inherits his wife at the end of a Yovel, has to return it back to her family. And he deducts the price for them. And we wonder, this is a Gemara in Bechayros, and we wonder what exactly is going on in this thing. What exactly does Rav Yochanan ben Broika hold? If he held the fact that a husband inherits his wife, the din d'oraisa, why does he have to return it at Yovel? If it's only din d'Rabbanan, and that's the reason why it goes back at Yovel, then you have to return the land, and the husband shouldn't get any compensation at all. Rav, and here's what we're looking for. This is the sheet of Rav that we're trying to figure out. What does Rav hold? With regard to the Yerusha of his husband, says Rav, of his wife, says Rav, really, the din that a husband inherits his wife is a din deraisa. And the case over here says Rav, which first of all, let's just pause and internalize the question. The Rav just said that Rav Yochanan ben Broika holds Yerusha Baal's the deraisa, and that's the kasha, because we just said a moment ago that Rav holds Yerusha Baal's the rabban. But let's just finish up this raisa, that the case is, says Rav, that one's wife bequeathed to him, one's wife gave over as Yerusha, a beis hakvaros, a graveyard, mishom begam mishpacha. And the reason why you have to return at the end of a Yovel is because of begam mishpacha. It's a disgrace to the family if they lose their graveyard. So Amar Rabbanan, but said the Rabbanan, Lishkol D'mei V'Liyader. Said the Rabbanan, you have to return it, even though you Sabal Daraisa, and therefore the fact that the husband inherits this piece of land on the Daraisa level, he should not have to return it. But says the Gemara, because of Begam Mishpacha, it's not nice that this woman's family is losing their burial plots. You return it and you get back the value. What do you deduct? To make kever ishtai, the amount that your wife would have to be buried in, because you have the obligation to bury your wife. If you sell the burial plot, the family still had to use it. So as the Gemara, we see clearly the Rav is seemingly holding like Yochanan ben Broika. The Yerusha Zabal is a deraisa. So why are you explaining to me also the Rabbanan? And the answer is the Gemara, the Avi is Teretz. Rav l'tamei de Yochanan ben Broika kamar v'lei lo yisfir lei. Says the Gemara, who told you Rav held that? Rav was just explaining Rav Yochanan ben Broika. Beautiful. But Rav himself could hold Yerusha Zabal is in fact he didn't the Rabbanan. Continues the Mishnah on the bottom of Pei Daled Amud Aleph. Says the Mishnah, Mi shameiz v'niach. Someone dies and he leaves over property. And unfortunately, as is all too common, the estate of the deceased becomes a point of dispute. So who are the players in this fight? V'niach Isha, his wife, Ubal Chayv, someone he owes money to, V'yarshim, and those who inherited him. So there's three people who are vying for the properties of this dead man. And this person has either a milva or a pikadon that someone else has against him. So who is the one that comes and collects the estate first? So Rav Tarfon Amar Yinatzal L'Koshel B'Hem says Rav Tarfon, the weakest one, gets it, which the Gemara will explain. Rav Kiva Amar Rachman B'Din. Well, what's this weakest? What, we're feeling bad all of a sudden? Yes, we have to have Rachmanas. Mr. Din Taira. No such thing as Rachmanas. Ella Yinasnu says Rav Kiva, we give it to Liyarshin. Everyone else has to swear. Inheritors don't have to swear. So says Rav Kiva, they inherit. Continues the Mishnah, second similar case. If a person dies leaving over fruit that is detached from the ground, and whoever grabs them first gets them. But let's say the woman takes too much, more than his debt. What do you do with the excess? Again, the same machlekes. The weakest one, so two cases of debate in the Mishnah. What do we do with the property? What do we do with the deceased estate? Who collects it first? Machlekes Rav Tarfon and Rav Akiva. Rav Tarfon continuously saying the weakest link gets it, whereas Rav Akiva saying no, the Yarshim get it. Ask the Gemara before we get involved in Machlekes Rav Tarfon and Rav Akiva. First, almost a parenthetical question. The first case of the Mishnah said two different dinim. It said, says the Gemara, why do we have to list both cases? Explains the Gemara in classical Gemara sense, two lines of the white line, Sricha. I would think that when it comes to a milva, when you lend someone money, money is meant to be spent. So that's when Rav Tarfon says that it doesn't necessarily go to the correct inheritor, but rather that's when Rav Tarfon feels bad and gives it to the weakest link. But if someone gives a pikadon, someone gives a security, a collateral to someone, and that item is still intact, maybe I'll admit to Rav Akiva that of course it should go to the Yarshim first. And if it would have said the case of pikadon, I would have thought similarly about Rav Akiva. Only that's where Rav Akiva says the din that the inheritors get it first. But in the case of the milva, maybe you'll admit to Rav Tarfon that since when you lend someone money, you're supposed to spend it, the money is not intact, so maybe we should feel bad and give it to the weakest link, Sricha. So we have to list both cases. But now says the Gemara 5 lines from the bottom, the obvious question, which probably made the previous Gemara a little bit difficult to understand. But what is this weakest person? What exactly did Rav Tarfon mean when he said you give it to the weakest one? Explains the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef Rav Chanina Aimer lekoishel sheberaya, the one that has the weakest raya. Why does the one that have the weakest raya get it? So let's look at Rashi for a moment. Lemisha shtari ma'uchar. Rashi says the one that has the latest star. Meaning, we all know that when someone has a star to collect money, if the person doesn't have money, he goes and collects from land. But you can only collect from land that was sold after your star was written. But land that was sold prior, of course, has nothing to do with your star. So says the Gemara, Lekoshel Shebaraya is one that has the latest star. The one with the latest star has the least ability to go and collect from any of the land. So that person we feel bad for, says Rav Tarfon, and he gets the estate first. Rav Yochanan Amar, no, Kesubos Isha, you know what it means, the weakest one? It means the Kesubos Isha. Rashi explains the reasoning that we've seen before, because it's not the normal way of a woman to go and find properties, which fields are encumbered, which fields she could collect for. Therefore, Rav Tarfon holds she gets first. Mishum China, because we feel bad for her. Mishum China, says Rashi, what does that mean? It means that we want men to find favor in the eyes of women and get married to them. Show to that at the end of the Kesubos, so they shouldn't feel bad that they're going to lose the Kesuba. Says the Gemara, Kitinai, Rabbi Naman Am Lekosher V'Rayavu Kosher, Rav Lazar Amar Kesubos Isha Mishum China. So says the Gemara, this debate in our Mishnah between Rav Tarfon and Rav Akiva, this debate between Rav Yosef, Rav Chanina, and Rav Yochanan, that exactly what is the weakest link? Is it has to do with the person that has the latest dated star, or is it the woman because of a favor? Is indeed a previous machlokes Tanoim between Rav Binyamin and Rav Elazar. We continue 3 lines from the bottom of Peidalad and Aleph. Hiniach Peira is that solution. So we continue to the Mishnah, and we said a case if they left over detached fruits, and we said whoever grabs it first gets it. And then we spoke about the excess, meaning if a woman grabbed too much, if a creditor grabbed too much, etc. Ask the Gemara for Rav Akiva, Ma'ir Meiser. According to Rav Akiva, that he said that in merachmin badin, and we don't give it to the weakest link, rather the inheritors always win. Ask the Gemara, my area Meiser. Why is the Mishnah only discussing the excess? According to Rav Akiva, everything should go to the Arshin. Answers the Gemara, you're right. It's indeed the din. But really, Rav Akiva holds the din is the same for all of it. As we turn over to Peidalid Amid Beis, ask the Gemara and Rabbi Akiva 1 second. You just said a din that there were fruits and they grabbed. Tanakama said whoever gets it gets it. And now the Gemara is explaining that according to Rabbi Akiva, really everything should go to the Yarshim. Ask the Gemara in the top line of Peidalid Amid Beis, Rabbi Akiva Tvisalam Hani Klal. Does Rav Kiva really hold that grabbing, that seizing property does nothing? Amar Rav Nachman, Vushetavas Mechayim. Says Rav in the name of Rav Nachman, it's true. Tfisa does help, but it's only if you're toifes while the father is alive. If one grabs in the lifetime of the creditor, then that grabbing does, of course, do something. Because the creditor is alive and you took his properties, now that's considered payment of the loan. But if you did it after his death, that's when Rav Akiva holds it is meaningless. Rav Tarfin, Teman Chayecha. Ask the Gemara. Okay, so now we understand Rav Akiva. According to Rav Tarfin, that says that you can even grab even after the man dies. And according to Rav Tarfin, that grabbing is going to be a sufficient way of claiming the funds. Where were the properties that you grabbed? Says the Gemara 3 lines down. Says Rav and Shmuel must be that the properties were in a public domain. Why? But if they were in the simta, if they were in the sides of Rishus Harabim, then the din does not apply. Because if it's in the sides of Rishus Harabim, as Rashi over here explains, we automatically assume that those areas is a place that you can make a kinyan, and in those areas, the Yarshin are going to be the one that automatically inherit it. Even in a simta, the halacha is that if someone grabs it, they get it, and it does not automatically go to the Yarshim, according to Rav Tarfin. Says the Gemara, we have a story. Don't Dayanik Rav Tarfin. There were Dayanim that paskin like Rav Tarfin, that what? There were people that came, they grabbed the property of someone that died, and they paskin like Rav Tarfin that it does not go to the inheritors, and the person that grabbed it keeps it. And Rish Lakish came along and said, no. He turned over the ruling, and he said that we pass like Rav Akiva, and the grabbing is nothing, and it goes back to the Yarshim. Amar le Rav Yechon Asisa Kishal Torah. You're making Rav Akiva's din as if it's a din daraisa. Why are you taking away the stuff for the people that grabbed? Leima b'haka miflagi. So says the Gemara, what exactly is this machlekes Rish Lakish and Rav Yechanan, whether we take away the field if someone grabbed it? Demar savar top devar mishta chayzer mar sav devar mishta einay chayzer. The first way of explaining the machlekes is: do we hold if you made a mistake that you retract and you go back in your ruling? Rav Rish Lakish obviously holds yes, and that's why he took the field away. Rav Yochanan says no. Says Marloi, that's not the machlekes. The kuli alma davar devar mishta chayzer. Everyone really agrees. If you made a mistake in a mishnah, of course you have to revert the ruling. You know what the machlekes is? The first man Damar holds, Rish Lakish holds, it's true he passed like Rav Akiva, but not in light of his Rebbe Rav Tarfin. So if someone actually grabbed and did like Rav Tarfin, then he's going to win. Whereas the second man Damar is going to hold that no, I think I said the names wrong, excuse me. The first man Damar is Rav Yechlan, and he's going to hold that we only pass like Rav Akiva, but not in light of his Rebbe. And therefore, that's the reason why, since Rav Tarfin was Rav Akiva's Rebbe, therefore, if we did like Rav Tarfin, it's not going to go back. Umar Savar, the first man Damar Rish Lakish holds, Halacha Kfilu Mei Rabbi, we pass like Rav Akiva, even in light of Rav Tarfin, and that's the reason why they retracted the ruling and they took it away from the one who grabbed and gave it to the Yarshim. Viba is saying another way of learning, the Kuli Amalach Rav Akiva Mechavira V'Loi Mei Rabbi. Everyone holds, we don't pass like Rav Akiva in light of his Rebbe Rav Tarfin. It's machlokes, what did Rav Tarfin have the status of Rav Akiva's Rebbe or not? And the third and final way of explaining the machlokes is everyone agrees Rav Tarfin was not Rav Akiva's Rebbe. Do we say that halacha like Rav Akiva or no matin itmar, that we lean to paskin like Rav Akiva? And the difference is going to be if we actually paskin not like Rav Akiva, if we're going to take it out or not. Says the Gemara, a bunch of stories that are very similar to the machlokes Rish Lakish and Rav Yechanan. Krive to Rav Yechanan Tafas Parad the Asmi Misimta. The relatives of Rav Yechanan had someone who owed them money and he died, and they went and they grabbed the cow Misimta from a simta, which already explains is the size of the Rishus Harabim. Also, Rav Yechanan came in front of Rav Yechanan and Amar Lo Shavar Tafsuah. It's great that they grabbed and they get to keep it. Also, came to Rish Lakish, came to Rish Lakish, Amar Lo Zela Adiro, so no, they have to return it. Also, came to Rav Yechanan and Amar Lo Maaseh Shekenegdi Cholik Alai. Said Rav Yechanan, what am I supposed to do? Rish Lakish argues and he wins There's no way I can revert that which Reish Lakish said. And another similar story, there was a herdsman of the Yisayimim, and an ox was grabbed away from him. That the Yisayimim's father was Nifter Yotzo his money, and someone came and grabbed an ox. The Baal Chayv said, I grabbed it when the father was alive. And the Bakra, the herdsman, said, no, you didn't grab it when he was alive. You grabbed it afterwards. Do you have witnesses that you grabbed it? He said, no, I do not have any witnesses. Since he could have said that he bought it, he has a migu, a good old-fashioned migu is a mechanics of credibility, that if someone says he could have had a better claim, which he would have been believed, if this person is only an animal and he claims I bought it, we would have believed him. So says the Gemara, similarly, if he says now that he grabbed it mechayim while the father was alive, we have to believe him. Ask the Gemara 1 second. There's a rule that you only have a chazaka, that which is under your hand is yours. There's only on non-movable items. But on living items, you don't have such a chazaka. So in this scenario, the fact that he had it, he would not necessarily have been believed to say he bought it. Answers the Gemara, no, this case is different. Because it's an ox, since you generally give an ox over to a raya, to the shepherd, to the herdsman, therefore, it does have a chazaka if it's in the hands of someone else. And one more story, Devei Nesiya, members of the Nasi's house, grabbed a shivcha, an amsa, a maid servant, from a simta. They said it's good that he grabbed it. Just because he's from the Nasi's house, you flatter him. But what are you doing? We pass like Rav Tarfin. Rish Lakish was chayzer. Rish Lakish backed it out, and therefore, so too in this case, we can go like Rish Lakish, and you have to return this maidservant. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up from Yemar Bar Chashu. Another story, a similar story in tomorrow's daf, the Siyata.